Hi everyone. A very good afternoon and thank you so much for being here. I know it's a post-lunch session, so we'll try to make it as interesting and as interactive as possible. We have a very interesting agenda on the cards here today. Click, tap, prosper, digital payments that work for everyone. And having Harsh, Tarun and Kush on the panel, I think we will get a whole round of wonderful perspectives. But just to lay the context for everybody here, what are we actually talking about? 20 billion UPI transactions a month. 500 million UPI unique users, which is bigger than the population of the US, which is bigger than the population of the entire EU, just to put in context. P2M transactions growing at 55% plus. Cash in circulation today is growing lower than the nominal GDP of the country. And most importantly, UPI has reached almost 99% of the PIN codes in the country. So with this context, today the panel wants to discuss about the key factors that have actually led to this. How can we actually take UPI to the remaining semi-urban and rural areas, make it more accessible? What role have fintechs and the government played till now, and what role can they play later? And how can we grow while enhancing security, trust, convenience, and maintaining interoperability? With that context, Harsh, let me start with you. As we've seen, India has achieved a record growth in digital payments. From your perspective, what ecosystem enablers, customer behavior shifts have actually led to this surge? And how are you and Policybazaar thinking about this?
So first of all, good evening everyone, and thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think I think everybody knows that India is one of the best country as far as digital payments and infra is concerned. So India has a 48% share of real-time transaction when compared with the whole world, which is a very, very big thing. It in itself says that, so we are far ahead as far as digital transaction is concerned. I think there are 2-3 factors which has majorly contributed in this regard. I think first is, I think I really appreciate the government's effort in Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, which have 55 crore beneficiaries, which has, I think, enabled everyone to have financial inclusion. The second part is, I will say, the accessibility of internet. So the internet is very cheap and available in most part of the country. And the third is, if you have these financial inclusion, you have internet, it gives users the exposure of smartphone. And the last one above all is I think one of the best brand which we have created across the country is UPI. So the combination of all these three. So if you see the surge in the transaction because of this, because the UPI is so seamless and accessible, and because everybody is now having account. I think these are the 3-4 parameters which has led our country, and we are become the market leader as far as digital transaction and real-time transaction is concerned. And as far as Policybazaar is concerned, you know, from the day one, we are the digital platform. So there is no other option on Policybazaar. You have to go digital. So our approach is very simple, and we want everybody to be very transparent. So our aim is to give transparency because, you know, insurance is a very, very complex product. So we want to be very transparent, accessible. And as far as payments is concerned, so there are 3 factors which we mainly focus. First is availability. So we want to ensure that each and every payment mode which is available across the globe should be available on payments page, on Policybazaar. Whether उसके लिए एक कस्टमर पेमेंट करे दिन में, महीने में, उससे फ़र्क नहीं पड़ता, but we want to give each and every payment mode. Second is security. So we pay special attention on security. We are PCI DSS compliance. We do regular VAPTs. We do all these scrutinies which is required for security. And third is convenience. As you know, payment is the last step as far as insurance is concerned, and because it's a very complex journey. After 13 to 14 calls of an agent, customers ready to purchase, and insurance, and payment is the last leg. So we want to keep the things very simple. So if you compare any other e-commerce player, you go for transaction, they will ask you, first you have to save your card, you have to save your VPA, but we have made it very simple. It's very simple payment page. It will look like that हमने कोई काम नहीं किया, design इतना simple है, but we deliberately have done like this. We have made very simple payment page. We have given all the payment option available in the world so that user should do transaction easily. And let me tell you, we have assisted customers whose first payment on a website is on PB. So it's give us immense joy and pride in serving customers across the length and breadth of the country.
That's wonderful to hear, Harsh. Tarun, in your view, what are the new product innovations that have actually helped in enhancing this inclusion, and how do you see that going forward?
That's a great question, Ayush. So what I believe is that during my journey at Paytm, I believe that is a QR-based ecosystem started in 2015. That was a great innovation. So the way the Western countries worked, it was plastic money. They need to spend few thousand rupees with recurring cost an year to have credit card machines or debit card machine. That was one of the problem. India, in which a golgappa wala or a tea seller, let's say chai wala, who earns few thousand rupees a month, single digit thousand, he cannot spend 5,000 rupees on credit machines, all those things. So the QR code made the first difference. Then the security and trust is the next thing. That is, I transfer money to Ayush, usko mile kya nahi? Network used to fail, reliability. So people would not, that is, I would never transfer or give money where I am doing a digital transaction, it takes time, all those things. So the advent of 5G network, that was the next thing. Demographic change. Our population is, that is young. They are, that is most prone to use new mobile sets. India has around 700 million, that is mobile, that advanced mobiles that we are using, smartphones. And this is something making change. What I believe in the future is that 6G is coming to 2030. That would be a big change. That means last mile connectivity. Everyone would have access to internet. What I believe is that 5 to 6 years down the line, my mobile would be faster than the fastest supercomputer that exists on Earth. So we can do, that is calculations of fraud detection in real time. That is something that would bring the new ecosystem, the trust factor. And with the Jan Dhan Yojana, we have the credit trails that will be bringing new set of people. So at Capri Global, these things are not possible without technical things. So at Capri Global, what we did was that we write an agentic AI. So we have few hundred people who underwrite the credit. Tarun thinks differently, Ayush thinks differently on the same set of data parameters. The data is few hundred pages, they would miss it. My AI agent goes through the system, finds hidden insights, shows it to the customer, and the customer takes a decision. That is, my credit agent takes a decision over that. That means we are giving loans to those people whom we have denied earlier. And these are better customers than our average customer. So that's a big change that technology advancement is coming. And what I believe, this is just a start, that is real-time analytics, fraud analytics. We'll detect frauds before even customer knows. We'll move from prevention, from after effects changes that we do. That's other changes that I believe are coming.
No, absolutely. And I think the point that you made on giving credit to the other underpenetrated segment and potentially using UPI data for it is a very, very big element. Kush, let me come to you. We've heard the consumer side of the story from the MSME and the retailer side, and considering your experience at Pine Labs, what have been the strongest drivers of the acceptance network coming up on UPI, and how has this changed or evolved over the last 5 to 7 years?
I mean, to begin with, I'll echo what both of them just now said, that, UPI has become such a foundational layer today in the India fintech ecosystem. I remember our times when we started doing payment technology, and we guys were always on the acceptance side in terms of, enabling merchants. For the first 8 to 10 years of our journey, because there was heavy investment in CapEx, last mile, exactly like Tarun said, that, big problems with regards to connectivity, and wherever there was connectivity, data was expensive. These were some of the big bottlenecks that India, was struggling with. But I would say just in the last 5 to 6 years, the way this entire journey of UPI, which is in that sense completely, we call it CapEx light, You don't need to have $100 point of sale terminal anymore. I think a lot of the benefits that we are seeing as fintechs or merchants are seeing, I would say a lot of that credit goes to even folks like NPCI. When we spend, being a fintech, we spend a lot of time with them in the product thinking and so on. I myself, I have a background in working in a payment network. I worked at Visa back in the day. And I used to think that these global networks really know how to do product development, how to solve for payments. But it's so fascinating to see how NPCI continue, and it's their brainchild. UPI came out. Thanks to that, the speed with which merchants are getting onboarded, it's like in our world, the speed of onboarding new merchants, which means distributions and sale and enablement, is 5 to 10x of what it used to be, right? Yep. At the same time, when we spend time with the NPCI folks, their thinking is already thinking ahead, meaning that we've enabled payments, which has now become a base case, right? Like, what are we doing? We're making payments fast, simple, secure, right? This is like a BAU, like we've done it, right? That victory is already there, right, in the bag. But what I feel is, as we look at the roadmap in terms of what are the new use cases that are building on top of UPI, right? What are the kind of products and services companies can offer, built, like I said, on this foundation of UPI, is something which I feel will be the game changer in this market. We always thought that, digital banks, for example, is again a global concept. I remember whenever I'd go to Singapore, I'd say, hey, DBS talks about it all the time. I feel that what does a digital bank want? They want to distribute products digitally, and they do not want to rely on traditional branch networks, right? Physical branch networks. Now imagine if UPI and the capabilities in it is offering you new types of specifications. There are already specifications out there where they've created, new layers on top of UPI where you scan that QR code and it gives you 3 more options now beyond just payments, right? Yeah. I feel with that product thinking on one end and hungry fintechs on the other end, I feel that the real moment for India is still 4-5 years away from now, where we'll talk about how we bundled up 5 more products on top of UPI. It will not be any longer about how easy UPI was to enable.
No, absolutely right. I think the innovation that's happening, especially credit on UPI, for instance, is a massive innovation in the space. So Harsh, coming back to you, we have about 500 million UPI users today. It's pretty much spread across the country. But how can we still enhance penetration in semi-urban and rural? What do you think are the specific enablers going forward that can be there in place to enhance this penetration going forward from a UPI perspective as we traverse the journey from about 500 million today to the entire 900 million plus adults in the country?
I think you will be surprised to know in the last 3-4 years, our major traffic has started from tier 3 cities or beyond that. And let me give you an example what we are doing to enable or empower people as far as digital financial inclusion or service. I think government, NPCI has launched UPI AutoPay 3 to 4 years back, right? So we were the first one to make UPI AutoPay live on our platform. Initially, it was really, it has a lot of issues. So we work with the likes of Paytm. So we were the first one to go live in the country with Paytm on UPI AutoPay, right? There was so much issues that AutoPay is not getting attached. So there were issues on recurring payment. So we work very closely with Paytm and NPCI. And so वो हमने हार नहीं मानी. We continuously work with the gateways. हुआ क्या when we reach out to tier 3 or tier 4 cities and they wanted to have a term insurance or a health insurance on monthly mode. How can they attach recurring payments? Because they were already exposed to UPI. We were offering them UPI AutoPay services. Now our 70% of the attachment on live business is through UPI AutoPay. So we as a merchant has a big role to empower, to expose these kind of instrument. What sir is saying कि खाली instrument होने से काम नहीं चलेगा. So we have to build these products. We have to embed these products. So payment is a product, and now we have embedded this tools and we have given exposure to the customer. Suppose you are a customer sitting in Bhiwani or Rohtak and you want to take a term insurance on a monthly mode, but you don't remember your net banking and you don't have credit card or debit card, you don't have exposure of these tools, but you have exposure of UPI. You can scan UPI and you can attach your mandate on a monthly basis. Now 70% of life insurance is running on UPI auto pay. So 3 साल में आपको पूरा गेम ही चेंज हो गया है. तो दिस इज हाउ मर्चेंट्स वर्किंग इन दिस डायरेक्शन आई थिंक. ऑल्सो एक और एग्जांपल है कि in last 1.5 years we have started giving options of doing conversational business on WhatsApp. Right?
Yep.
So we have embedded whole journey on WhatsApp. You can do transaction, you can chat with the agent, you can choose your plan on WhatsApp, you can do everything. So you have to, as a merchant, we have to think and we have to give option to the user how we can expose these instruments. Instrument होना एक अलग बात है, but उसको use करके, उसका execute करके और उसका ultimate conversion होना एक अलग बात है. And you will be surprised हमारा conversion 15% increase हुआ इससे.
Phenomenal. I think that's a phenomenal growth story. Tarun, you had to add something.
Yeah, that's fine. So just want to end on UPI auto pay. So in lending, पैसा देना आसान है, वापस लेना मुश्किल है. Just like college rates, we used to lend to our friends और पैसा आता नहीं था. But when we enabled UPI auto pay for one of our business units, which is again one of the largest business units in Capri Global, our customers were able to pay at any point of time. And that is, it's the gold loan business. They even pay 100 rupees, 500 rupees, all those things. And we have seen that people are willing to pay at a much higher frequency. So this is something, a positive impact that is also bringing to lending, which is decreasing the cost, reducing NPAs, and benefiting us in a much better manner. So it's not like one story. It's bringing the feature to the masses. That's something. That is insurance one sector, lending is another sector, payments another sector. What I believe is that
Wealth
these innovations,
SIPs.
like SMB,
SIP is a very big sector.
Yeah, so this whole thing is going to change us massively. If we want to become a $30 trillion economy, we say Viksit Bharat 2047. We want each and every Indian should have a basic, can fulfill his basic needs. These features would help us to move to that there. Now there exists a platform. We need to build tools over that can be leveraged by masses in multiple ways while we take care of this trust and security and helps move our digital journey to, let's say, 90% digital economy and 10% cash economy in less than 5 to 7 years from now. So this is something.
Phenomenal, phenomenal. Kush, you spoke about hungry fintechs and a supportive regulator earlier. Fintechs have, of course, played a massive role in making the UPI adoption reach where it is and digital payments reach where they are. How do you see this role changing of fintechs over the next 5 to 7 years? And what do you think are the key enablers for, let's say, the government and the regulator to further enhance adoption and to further embed digital payments? And I'll take it even more broadly and extend it to from embedded payments to embedded finance, as we've been talking about.
Right. So absolutely. I think this is the next phase that you're talking about, right? What's in front of us. So we feel that with the level of complexity we are adding to basic transactions, there's certainly so much more at stake. Starting from your credentials, your identity, every information about yourself. Think of it like this, right? We as fintechs have a big responsibility, a big role to play. And every time the regulator wants to regulate us, we don't like it. Right? But the fact remains that maybe today we are sitting on information and data and financial data about customers like probably a large bank does. Right? So I think it will be an interesting mix of two things. You want to have just the right balance, that there is a regulatory framework that we all follow, which is going to be thinking ahead in terms of what could be, let's say, potential exposures that can open up over a period of time. So you have to have the guardrails. But at the same time, it cannot be that restrictive that, it slows down the growth in India, because we are still in early stages of growth, like I said, right? Growth is not stitching up the entire network of consumers and merchants to go digital. That's like setting up the infrastructure. I'm saying like that's what it is. It's just the railroads we've put. The real growth will come on the backs of what more can we build on top of that, right? Like we all have been talking about. So I feel that at the end of the day, the fact that our country has been fairly flexible in terms of, the licensing norms, the experimentation that we all have done, it had been fairly more straightforward. We spend time in other countries, and I can tell you, for example, to get like a, quote unquote payments bank license equivalent in other geographies is a fairly hard job. It doesn't happen that easily. I think our regulators have been that way is fairly accommodating, and hence there were many of us who were beneficiaries of it, right? So I feel with breakneck speed that we are growing, regulators are also leaning on us. We spend a lot of time in discussing, they want to discuss use cases. I've spent time, in this very city, speaking and spending time with the cybersecurity folks in the central government, because they are coming up with, they come up with new kinds of problems where they're saying, hey, this customer, by the way, was onboarded on your network. And then we realize, oh, this merchant was onboarded under certain merchant category which belongs to you. And then we realize that, for the sake of expanding fast, we also overlook a lot of times things that we should not, right? So I feel that the next phase is going to be, like I said, all of us wanting to finally start to make money on UPI, right? And hence we want to bundle more products, right? Because if you can't make money on UPI, you'll bundle products and make money out of it. But at the same time, be very mindful of the fact that, now you're going into the hinterlands of the country, you're going tier 3, tier 4 markets. How do you make sure somebody's not gaming your system? A lot of that stuff, continues to play on our mind as we are going all out. Now it's no longer a 10-city play where you're only operating in metropolitans and, you're working with the SEC category of consumers, right? So I feel as the game is evolving, regulatory framework will also evolve, and we have to play a big role in that.
Great. So, Harsh, just taking on from where Kush left, right? And as we get to SECC, SECD, as we get to semi-urban rural, awareness generation and creating that trust is sometimes a big barrier, right? Fintechs have, of course, invested ahead of the curve to do that. But how do you see this playing out? Because the journey from, let's say, 100 million to 500 million, and the journey from 500 to 900 is going to be substantially tougher than from 100 to 500, right? So how do you see fintechs or the government solving the problem of awareness generation, solving the problem of lack of trust?
So I think the best part in working Policybazaar that we have our agents, and most of the journey are tele-assisted journey. And let me tell you, our agent, our advice do not mince words. They are very, very blunt, and we get the upfront feedback what the actual customer or actual person in rural areas wanted. So let me tell you another example what we are doing. So we pay special attention to affordability on our platform. So there is a partner, BNPL partner, we sat with them, basis the feedback which our advisor has given us. So we had made a very simple change in the collection part. So earlier, the collection was regular e-mandate, and we changed it to UPI autopay, the collection part. You will be surprised, the conversion and the reach has increased 25x.
I'm sure, yeah.
Right? Because what customer want? They want trust. They want transparency. Because they are exposed, if you are a customer sitting in a small town, and average health insurance in today's date is 35 to 40,000 rupees costs. And upfront, it is very impossible for them to pay upfront. So what we need to do? We need to build the trust of a customer that you can pay on monthly basis. You can pay as per your convenience. You can use the affordability stack, which gives the trust to the customer that yes, I can pay 3K, 4K, 5K on a monthly basis, which will not impact on my pocket. And also, the platform has trust, security, and the money is deducted from my account through very simple medium. So this is how we have to work. We have to, as Sir said, we have to find mechanism how we can build product over this.
I would like to add from the tech perspective, being a technical guy all my life. So trust can be built from reliability. मैं दुकान पे गया पेमेंट फेल होगी It used to happen with Paytm 6 years back. We fixed it way back in 2020.
Technical declines on UPI are now the
Yeah.
lowest out of all payment
The
mechanisms.
second thing is scalability. That is, you would agree, Kush, at 7:37 p.m. daily, the spike in traffic. How would you make sure that your system never goes down? You said almost 21 billion transactions a month. That means this festive season, there might be day we might cross 1 billion transactions a day. Or even if we do that is 7:37 p.m. peak, it might be 2 billion transactions if we multiply those numbers. So that's something we are looking out for. Last mile connectivity would come. But the biggest problem in UPI ultra thin margins is customer support. My payment fails, there is an issue. We keep on raising the issue on any of the platforms because the margins are so thin that it takes hours, days, or even weeks to solve the problem. What I believe with the coming of agentic AI, GPUs would become cheaper, 100x cheaper in 4 to 5 years, what I believe. This system would come in and we'll be able to solve customer problem in seconds or minutes instead of waiting for hours or days or weeks. That is something, the other level of trust. The third level of trust would be in most of the cash transactions that we do, we forget we have paid money to, let's say, Kush, and we might fight after 2 days or 2 weeks. This is something that you have the entire trail of data for the last few years. You can say, Kush, this is a proof पैसे दिए थे, अब मैं तुझे वो पैसे नहीं दूंगा. So this would eliminate disputes, and this would help a long way in reducing our legal costs, multiple other trust issues, it would improve cohesion between the society. So it has a multiple side benefit also. So this is from my perspective from the tech side.
No, thank you so much, Tarun, for that. Kush, what about interoperability? So we've seen interoperability coming across UPI, cards, wallets. That started, right? How do you see this evolving, and how do you see that entire ecosystem developing going forward?
So I think one thing that you absolutely again have to believe in is that if there is no interoperability, there is no scale, right? You can continue operating as a proprietary network where you want to control both ends. You can only grow that much, right? I mean, the fact that UPI, which meant unified, to begin with, and a standardized, specification came out that all consumer apps, all UPI acquirers had to follow it, which is why in India it ramped up. We see examples in markets in Middle East, markets in the Southeast Asia, where there are people who are still building out their own proprietary products. There's a proprietary QR, which has to be there, otherwise, the acceptance doesn't happen. And unfortunately, they've scaled to maybe some 15, 20,000 stores. It's like that, right? So interoperability is something which is extremely important to begin with, whereby people in the same ecosystem have to first share and become interoperable. That's already happening in India, right? I feel interoperability now will probably go to a slightly more advanced stage as well, whereby interoperability will also start to come out when it comes to doing cross-border, payments. What I'm trying to say is that, and these are very interesting ways to look at it. Today, as we speak, we are ourselves in projects where we are working with folks in, let's say again, UPI is the theme today. So let's say we're working with NPCI, where there are consumers like all of us, who travel to these destination markets from Thailand to Dubai to Bangkok to whatever places. And then there is a local scheme there, right? How the two local schemes, the local scheme of India and the local scheme of UAE, are coming together, whereby when a consumer with, let's say, a Paytm or a PhonePe app goes to Dubai, is able to seamlessly scan the local QR in that country and still make a payment without having to take, forex exchange or a prepaid card. And it's a very cumbersome process right now, right? So what we are seeing is that these bilaterals are happening now globally as well, where countries are wanting to come together. I mean, at the end of the day, why do you think Visa, MasterCards of the world did so well? Because they were in a way interoperable globally, which is why they became $300-400 billion companies as well, right? I feel that interoperability is extremely, crucial as we go from here to the next phase of growth. Even when it comes to, for example, today, when I, for example, use my UPI app, now, obviously, NPC has built it out, it's a UPI product, and if I have to use my credit card, I have to link it with it. The option given is RuPay card. Of course, I understand, right? But over a period of time, you also have to give options for linking my Visa MasterCard card, right? Right now, it's not there. Yeah. But for that credit card product, and by the way, I'm a big believer that as people have stopped using debit cards physically, it's a dead product because, you use a UPI and you don't ever think of using a debit card.
The debit card numbers anyway are pointing
I'm
to
when,
that.
like barely, maybe
Barely.
hardly even for an ATM withdrawal, right?
Correct.
Same is going to happen to credit cards as well. People are going to be linking now their credit cards and, going and using the phone. But now you cannot restrict it to only RuPay credit card, for example, right? So I feel that interoperability for all form factors, if it is working on a tap and pay, I mean, that's the other thing. I'm not sure if you guys are, watching this space. But for example, you go to Singapore, you'll see that the whole world is using their Apple phone. They tap and they pay. Absolutely. They have the Apple card, everything in it, right? You're done within seconds. It's coming into India now. Yeah. They've set up shop. So for these kind of use cases as well, where it has to be device agnostic, it has to be interoperable, meaning I may have an Android, he may have an iOS, doesn't matter. So I feel interoperability globally, locally, device agnostic, I think at multiple levels it has to play out. I am a big believer if it's cracked well, it will really scale and it will benefit everybody in the ecosystem.
You're absolutely right, and I think the way you layered interoperability is, I think, going to be the key element as we go forward. Tarun, as we look at, you spoke about 1 billion, 2 billion transactions a day. What kind of infra, cloud APIs, rural connectivity is required to actually sustain that momentum, right? Because there is, of course, a big technology backend that's needed to enable all of this, right? So how do you see that scaling up, right? Just considering the rapid growth that we've seen in UPI.
Yeah, sure. So there are two types of scaling. One is the client-side scaling, which would be happening in the form of mobile, better hardware at lesser cost. The problem comes at the server-side scaling. The good part is that the UPI architecture designed by NPCI is something state-in-art architecture. It's a pure innovation. Everything is queue-based, that is in technical terms async, and everything is Cassandra-based. That is, you can scale as much as you want. That is, the coming of cloud is something, a very huge requirement for it. Think it like you're going from Delhi to Noida. There's huge traffic. There are 2 lanes. Add 2 more lanes at that point of time, then the traffic vanishes. So that is the cloud provides that scalability. That is going to happen. So cloud would be a big enabler in scaling the infrastructure at the time of need while keeping the cost in control. So this is going to happen. So this is one of the few changes that is the companies are moving. And many of the providers, right now the payment aggregators and UPI providers are based on cloud. This is something going to happen. The other thing I believe is that from the technical advancement, it might be possible a few decades down the line, we don't need any device. That is, Elon Musk is working on embedding chips. We might have NFC cards in our body. Or our biometrics, the way Alipay works in China. The biometrics, that is retina scans, would enable us to pay while reducing frauds at that point of time. So these are technical advancements. So scaling is not a problem. It used to be a problem before pre-cloud era. I cannot share Paytm numbers, but I'm sure that is companies like Paytm can handle even 10x the traffic at just a week notice. So this is something going to happen.
Super, super. So my one last question to the entire panel here. AI, Gen AI is of course the flavor of the season. We discussed a few use cases on fraud detection. We spoke about agentic customer service. What other use cases do you see actually enabling and further enhancing the usage of digital payments in the country from an AI, Gen AI perspective? I mean, that's a question to the panel.
Yeah, so I think first and foremost what we are seeing is that the entire software development, product development, and taking those 5 new software, enhancements or features into a production environment. Like, it's like today, because it is built out on individuals, right? Like there's a development team, and then there is a QA testing team, and there's a proper cycle, and then it goes. It's like every 3 months, let's say today, potentially we can roll out maybe 4 to 5 features, right? I feel by building our entire tech on the backs of Gen AI, our speed and quality of code delivery is already seeing a huge difference, right? And I feel that if you're a company which is a company into innovations and you want to build more and for the future, and like for example, if today there is a potential risk in a certain type of a transaction flow of the model we've built, it takes us a long time to identify. And then to do a bug fix, let's hypothetically, right? They want to make a change. You want to add extra step. You want to add friction so that it becomes more difficult. It's a proper project, right, on its own. We feel we can be so much more nimble-footed in all these types of use cases. I feel the quality of software delivery for, bug fixing, speed, a lot of these things are going to get enhanced, along with saving a lot of salary costs as well. Yeah.
So STRs, so what Kush is saying is that STRs, that is suspicious transaction report, that we file after fraud has happened, would be eliminated. That would become, we'll say, we'll teach our grandchildren, once upon a time there used to be a fraud. So this is going to happen.
Absolutely, absolutely. Harsh, any final thoughts? Perfect. Great. So thank you so much, everybody. I'll just quickly open it up to the audience if there are any questions, anything you want to ask our panelists. Yes, please. Can someone pass the mic there?
Hello.
Just of time, let me pass.
No, I think they...
Hello, my name is Himanshu. I have a startup, Himanshu Engineering Services. It's a deep tech startup in AI, IoT, and blockchain. And case studies which we are looking for is for the automobile sector, finance industry, and energy department. So there are a lot of things happening and being discussed from the morning itself, like data as a currency, and then AI as a friend, but that is not to be trusted. So I see blockchain as a technology which can benefit AI and friendship of AI with humans. And similarly, the payments, the tap procedure and how it is being done, AI is sufficient, but not to the level to identify the trust levels. So I wanted to know, like these people who are working in this segment and have a good experience, so how much investments you are looking to put further for blockchain? Because I feel when we discuss AI, blockchain need to be discussed together. For example, for the automobile sector, roads need to be proper, right? So similarly, we are getting a lot of intelligence, but to bring the trust factor, I feel blockchain need to be discussed together. So I just wanted to know what are the futuristic work you are working on blockchain to make India a better economy. Thank you.
Any thoughts?
So at our org, we are not using blockchain, but I can talk about the AI investment that you asked in the second part. So the way you design AI can increase your cost 10x or reduce cost by 10x. There is concept of token optimization. The simple math of using FP16 versus i8 or i4 reduces your cost by 8x, 16x. The concept of distillation. There are multiple other concepts. The same architecture that used to design in X rupees can be designed in X by 100. And you need to calculate the ROI. Say, for instance, you say, I'm investing 5,000 USD a month on this thing. How much time it will it take? It's known as capacity planning in technical terms. How much time will it take me to recover that cost? That is return on investment. Most of the times, you will be able to recover it in weeks or max 1 to 2 months. That's what we do. That has enabled us to, and that is almost operationalized 25 plus Gen AI use case in production at cost less than 500 USD a month. So that's something Capri is doing. Coming to the other part, reliability. One of the things that you will have to do, because every time the AI different set of codes, if you're using agentic AI, you need to, there is an options in most of the models, you need to save the code that has been written by AI and validate it and save it as a sample code. Sometimes next better comes up, save it as the next version. So by using these technical things, you'll be able to optimize your cost massively and get reliable same results at every point of time. Think like this, you say, hi AI, please write in ChatGPT, write an email to my boss asking for a raise. Every time it will write a different mail. That's not consistency. These things can help fix that. If someone wants to add on blockchain.
Perfect. Any other question?
Yeah. Good afternoon. I'm Kannan Pichai from Bajaj Finance. Thank you, Harsh, Kush, Tarun, Ayush, for detailed discussion. See, today, all of us talking about those 20 billion transaction and 20 lakh crore transaction. It is growing every month. Now, almost the whole is absolutely pre-up cost. But how long government can pay the cost, it keep on going. Today, nobody is making money. Like, all of us, the bankers, fintech, everybody and anybody, we are so cock about the whole universe. But ultimately, government is throwing a lot of money behind that. But how long you feel that we can afford, we can put up such a structure?
We are spending too much of money. By when will we recover?
How long can the government?
Spending money on multiple things.
Yeah, and whole universe, everybody throwing money. Everybody throwing money. Government of India throwing money, lot of money.
Of course.
Like all we guys, all the fintechs, payment company, like everything free of cost. But how long?
Yeah, but I mean, I'll give you an example. When you look at more developed markets, and if you think of from what years they had started putting money in building this entire cashless or digital ecosystem, top 2 or 3 American companies which have become global in nature started in 1960s.
Okay.
And even now, if you hear their, quarterly investor earning calls, they still will have a couple of $100 million that they're investing in further R&D and growth, right? I'm saying starting 1960, 1965, right?
Okay.
I feel when you look at our India journey, I fully agree with you that there is disproportionate amount of money that is also going behind building out this infrastructure. First and foremost, I would say we are still in our first 8-10 years of that investment. It's really a sunrise sector. The other bit is, the objective is two-pronged, right? So if the government is also throwing money, what they're also doing is, now they're creating a financial, audit trail for so many more businesses in the ecosystem who were earlier untraceable. Think of it like that, right?
Okay.
So what happens is, let's say like when we started doing these credit card payments in shops, there were not more than 4 to 5 million shops in the country that were accepting digital payments. Today there are maybe 40 to 50 million, right? It's become 10 times more. So the point is, the idea is obviously we've all invested to go to that very small timer, like they were saying, like a Golgappa seller or whatever. But imagine this person is now in the formal financial ecosystem. It's identifiable. So tomorrow, even for the central government or for fintechs like us to engage with that customer or engage with that user, for us to sell a new financial product or service, and for the government and the tax department to make that individual accountable, it's much more easier, right? Because now you're in the formal system.
Yes.
So I feel that a lot of these objectives are keeping the long term in mind. We are still in the first 8-10 years. You're absolutely right. At the end of the day, we are, enterprises which are not here for social service. We are also investing so much money, and we always get questioned that, with so much investment that has gone in, when the ROI will come, right?
Yeah.
So I feel that the beginning is already happening as we speak. We are all figuring out how to come into more income opportunities from these investments. Last 8 to 10 years, it was all about put the railroads, expand, build the infrastructure. Money will happen over a period of time. I think most of us here are from companies who are building companies for the long term. So if you're a startup, if you're a company who has a short-term view, don't come into India. If you have a long-term view and you want to build for the next 2 decades, this will not look like a very big investment to you. So I think it's a long-term view thing, and I think it all justifies.
Please. Thank you, Kush.
Just as we spend money on our children's education, so that when they grow big, they can do good in their life. Similarly, that's an investment we are doing for our future generations. I can give you a real-time example. That is, GST was introduced. There were many, that is whether we like it or not, but the impact, this digital trail has helped us to increase revenue base, which helped us to reduce GST rates. So in practice, it's helping the country. So there would be more spending, there would be more purchasing power, and the country would grow. So that's the investment for future. Yes, there should be a concept of fail fast, but that is in larger things, what I believe the data that we are collecting from this ecosystem would help us to decide where the infra money that I need to put, that is the large infrastructure projects. Okay. It would help us to decide, that is identify problems before they occur. For instance, यहाँ पे महाराष्ट्र में payments कम हो गई है, there might be something happening bad on the ground level. हो सकता है crops अच्छी ना आई हो. So there are multiple indicators or that is algorithms that would be built on the ecosystem. So think like this: if we want everyone to have that is a house, fulfill his basic necessities, and India to become a that is developed nation in next 20 decades. We are just a $4 trillion economy. We want to become a $30+ trillion economy in less than 20 years, 22 years. That's almost 8x growth. That's not possible without this investment. The investment have been done. The seeds have now, are now converted in small crops. Soon we'll have a very good forest with large number of fruits laden on those trees. And everyone would eat the fruits. Thank you.
Thank you, Tarun. I appreciate. I really appreciate.
Great. Okay, we've got more questions. I think we can take one more question.
Yes, sir. I'm Puneet Ahuja from Orient Pro. We are a company based in UK.
Sorry, can you be a little louder, sir?
I said I'm Puneet Ahuja from Orient Pro. We are a company based in UK looking after the DPDP, that data privacy in India. See, you know, what we are hearing now is, I'm also Indian, so what we are hearing is that we have got 700 million transactions of UPI. That's great. But what about the failed transactions, you know, when I have paid a merchant by mistake, or if he has taken some money, you know, fraudulently. So I think that money is too high. So do you have any mechanism, you know, where we can get these payments faster? Because, you know, every day we hear that we have been doing so many transactions. That's fine. But what about the bad debts?
So
for the online?
Yeah. So just to recover some of the things, so the reliability would increase. So that is, I know at least more than double digit, that is almost 50x increase in reliability in 3 years in one of the companies that I used to work. So the failed transaction would decrease. The way, if I give money to, let's say, Kush, and he doesn't want to return, there's nothing I can do unless I go legal. Similarly, at least I have a digital trail here. If I go legal, I can prove मैंने कुछ को पैसे दिए थे. यहाँ पे आप जब कैश इकोनॉमी में दे रहे हो, आप वो प्रूव भी नहीं कर सकते. So that's the basic difference. So the scenario is same, but you have a better chance of getting and disputing that something bad happened. Now coming to fraud, as I told, that compute at the edge is coming. That means even before the STS, we call it STS sometimes, that is when fraud happens, suspicious transaction reports. Every company, including Kush company, my company, or Policybazaar files it to RBI. So we will be able to detect it. Instead of having, that is saying that I gave money to Kush, thinking he would give me a phone, but he ran away and he did not give me a house, or let's say house, because that's one of the common areas of fraud. He did not give the house and he ran away, the builder ran away. Now, if I paid him digitally, I have proof of that. In this case, there might be scenarios we are able to identify that Kush is not doing good. There might be a scenario, would you like to pay him the payment because his accounts are frozen? So these are the new set of things that are coming into the future. That's what I believe.
We have a very good chargeback, I think we have to give credit to RBI that we have a very good chargeback mechanism. I think it's very, very tough if you pay digitally to any merchant, and if you raise chargeback, and if you have paid by mistakenly, I think 100% you will get the refund. I think it's,
protection is more for the consumer.
yes.
That's how it's built. I mean, you know, unless obviously the result comes out of, you know, the dispute, you know, that was raised, the first thing, the way our chargeback mechanisms are built in India is first protecting the consumer's interest, keeping that in mind. And hence, like he rightly said, it's very tightly governed to control any, you know, these kind of scenarios like you mentioned.
And the other thing is that at least you know, I am giving money to Harsh or Kush in digital era. If Kush comes here and I don't know him, he might say I'm Harsh. और मैं हर्ष समझ के कुछ को पैसे दे दूंगा. This is completely eliminated in digital era. So that's the new things, that is the fraud would reduce. That's what I believe. The thing is that cash frauds are never reported, or they are seldom reported. In practice, I believe, and strongly believe, that digital frauds in percentage term might be less than the cash frauds.
100%. Perfect. With that, I would like to thank our panel, Kush, Tarun, Harsh. Thank you so much for taking out the time. And thank you so much, everybody.